They marched into the fog, and were never seen again. An entire Roman legion, nearly 5,000 of the most disciplined soldiers in the ancient world, vanished from history. This is the mystery of the Ninth Legion. Some stories whisper their way across centuries, refusing to die. The disappearance of Legio Hispana is one of them. A historical cold case that has haunted archaeologists and historians for almost 2,000 years. How does a force this powerful simply cease to exist? Today, we're going to dive deep into one of antiquity's greatest unsolved puzzles. First, let's understand who these men were. The Ninth was no ordinary legion. This wasn't some hastily assembled militia. We're talking about a unit forged in the fires of the Roman Republic, hardened under the first emperor, Augustus, and feared across the known world. Their official name, Legión Hispana, tells you where they earned their fearsome reputation. Spain, they fought in the brutal Cantabrian Wars, campaigns that were so savage they tested the limits of even Roman endurance. Over decades, they became a symbol of Roman might, known for their discipline, their engineering prowess, and their ruthless efficiency in battle. They fought across Gaul, Africa, and Germania. They held the line in some of Rome's most brutal campaigns. These were the men you sent when a province was on the verge of collapse, the ones you trusted to hold the frontier against all odds. They were, in short, one of the elite fighting forces of the Roman Empire. And then, they vanished. The trail leads us to the ragged edge of the Roman world, the province of Britain. Britain was a land that Rome never truly conquered, a constant headache for a succession of empires. It was a place of thick, foreboding forests, violent storms, and fiercely independent tribes who refused to kneel to the Roman eagle. And in the far north, beyond the fortified frontier, lived the most dangerous of them all, the Picts. The Romans called them the Painted Ones, shadowy warriors who used guerrilla tactics to bleed the legions dry. Our last solid record of the Ninth Legion places them stationed at Eboracum, what we now call the city of York in northern England. This was a critical fortress, the launching point for campaigns into the unconquered north. Around the year 108 AD, the Legion is recorded as being there, busy building and fortifying. And then, the records go silent, utterly and completely silent. No new deployment orders. No battlefield reports. No letters from soldiers to their families. No veterans mustering out and retiring to farms. It's as if 5,000 men, with all their armor, weapons, and standards, were simply swallowed by the earth. So what happened? This is where history ends and the mystery begins. The most popular and dramatic theory is that the Ninth Legion met a catastrophic end in the misty highlands of Caledonia, modern-day Scotland. The story goes that a massive rebellion erupted among the northern tribes. The Ninth, being the closest legion, was dispatched to crush it. They marched north, beyond the relative safety of the frontier, and into hostile territory. Imagine it. Thousands of heavily armed soldiers marching through dense, unfamiliar forests, stalked by an enemy who knows every valley and every hidden path. The theory suggests the Picts and their allies drew the legion into a trap, an ambush so brutal and so overwhelming that the entire legion was wiped out to the last man. Their revered eagle standards were captured, the ultimate humiliation for a Roman legion. Their bodies were left scattered across the Scottish moors, never to be properly buried. This theory gained a lot of popularity in the 20th century, inspiring novels and movies, because it's such a compelling, romantic image of imperial hubris meeting its match. Is it true? For a long time, this was the accepted version of events. However, many modern historians have started to question it. They argue that while a major defeat is possible, the complete annihilation of an entire legion without a single mention in any Roman source is highly unlikely. Roman historians like Tacitus were never shy about recording military disasters. The loss of 3 legions in the Teutoburg forest, for example, was a national trauma that was documented and discussed for generations. Why would the destruction of the Ninth be completely erased? This leads us to the second major theory. The legion wasn't destroyed in Britain at all. Instead, it was quietly transferred out of the province and redeployed somewhere else in the vast Roman Empire. Some evidence suggests the detachments, or vexillations, of the Ninth might have been sent to the Rhine frontier in what is now the Netherlands. Other, more substantial theories point to the eastern provinces. The argument is that the ninth was moved from the damp chill of Britain to the arid frontiers of Judea or Cappadocia to deal with unrest there, or to prepare for the Great War against the Parthian Empire. According to this version of events, the Legion may have met its end decades later. Fighting in the east, perhaps it was ground down in a long, grueling war, or was so heavily damaged in a battle that the survivors were simply absorbed into other legions. The unit would have been officially disbanded, its name struck from the army lists. This would be a much less dramatic, more bureaucratic end. It wouldn't be a single, glorious last stand, but a slow, quiet dissolution. Far from Britain, this theory explains the lack of a dramatic record. Legions were sometimes disbanded or merged, and it wasn't always a headline event. But here's the problem with both of these theories. The evidence is incredibly thin. For the destroyed in Scotland theory, we have no definitive archaeological proof, no mass graves of Roman soldiers, no battlefield littered with Roman equipment, and most importantly, no captured 9th Legion Eagle standard has ever been found. For the transfer to the East theory, the archaeological evidence is ambiguous at best. A few roof tiles or inscriptions mentioning the 9th found in the Netherlands could belong to a small detachment, not the whole Legion. And that brings us back to the core of the mystery. The silence. Why would Rome stay completely silent about the fate of nearly 5,000 of its professional soldiers? This leads to a third, more conspiratorial theory. Perhaps the 9th Legion was lost in a disaster so humiliating, or under circumstances so politically sensitive, that the Emperor himself ordered it erased from the official memory of the Empire. Maybe it wasn't just a military defeat, but something worse. A mutiny, a defection, a catastrophic failure of leadership that reflected poorly on the Emperor. If the Legion was lost due to gross incompetence or even treason, an emperor like Hadrian, who was obsessed with discipline and the stability of the frontiers, might have found it easier to simply pretend it never happened, erase the records, silence the survivors if there were any, and let the unit fade into obscurity. This would explain the complete lack of information in Roman sources. It wasn't that they forgot, it was that they were forbidden to remember. Even today, archaeologists continue to search for clues. They have found fragments of the 9th's presence all across Britain pottery, building inscriptions, personal items, but the trail goes cold after the early 2nd century. It's a historical dead end, a brick wall in the timeline. The disappearance of the 9th Legion remains one of antiquity's most tantalizing unsolved cases. It's a story of courage, of the brutal reality of empire, and of the fog of war that can sometimes swallow history itself. Did they die a warrior's death in the frozen north, overwhelmed by tribal fury? Were they quietly transferred and disbanded on a distant frontier? Or were they the victims of a political cover-up, their fate erased by an emperor's decree? We may never know for sure. Their fate remains a riddle, lost to the mists of time. But their legend, that is eternal. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the past. If you love unraveling historical mysteries like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. What do you think happened to the 9th Legion? Let me know your theory in the comments below. See you next time.